read chapter 10, but first let's review the chapters that we're skipping. We're going from 3 to chapter 10 because we don't have a lot of time, and we're gonna do an abbreviated tour through the book. So let's talk about really quickly what happened in the interim chapters, but let me get my notes up here. On your study guide, you will see that I made you kind of cliff notes. So in chapter 4, there's a big bison hunt. He kind of spent some time alone, and then he decided that he was not going to talk about his dream. He didn't think anyone would believe him. Chapter 5, they go to Fort Robinson, so that's fun. That's in Nebraska. You could go there for a vacation if you want. He's still feeling queer every now and then. He uses that word a lot. And then in his words, that means like he's feeling like sick and the visions come on. And they come and go throughout his whole life. Chapter 6 is like a love story between two characters that we are going to skip over. Chapter 7, we're in the Black Hills, which is a wonderful place. You saw pictures of it. You should go there on vacation sometime. Wasatchus are creeping in. Chapter 8, some more fighting. So things are getting more and more tense and violent. And chapter 9, chapter 9 is Custer's last stand. I'm pretty sure I told you that it was chapter 2, maybe. So my bad. I do that a lot. So chapter 9, then, when he's 11, he participates in Custer's last stand. Although it's not called that in the book. It's like the Battle of the Greasy Grass. And he kills some people. And they go into some very matter-of-fact details of murdering some white soldiers. He talks about cutting open like a fat guy, and he thought about eating the meat, but he didn't. And he did his first scalp. And I don't know, there's some good details in there if you want, but don't worry, there's going to be plenty of fighting more. So this chapter is for chapter 10, Walking the Black Road, which again, thank you titles. They're very helpful. Oh crap, where's my pen? Nope, I lost it. Okay, chapter 10, Walking the Black Road. We stayed in that country near the Bighorn Mountains for about a moon, maybe a little more, so that's a month. My father told me all the fighting had not done any good because the hang around the fort people were getting ready to sell the Black Hills to the Wasatch anyway, and that more soldiers were coming to fight us. He said that 3 Stars was on Goose Creek and that many other soldiers were up on the Yellowstone River, and that those would come together and have us between them. Oh yeah, so not only is there just a direct conflict between Black Elk's people, the Lakota Sioux, and the U.S. government, or just white people in general, but also there are members in the Native American groups who are more interested, probably monetarily wise, to sell the land to the whites. So they're kind of thought of as traders, and they are described as around the fort people because they would hang out around the white forts, which makes sense. Okay, some of our people had been leaving us a few at a time and going in to live at the agencies that the Wasatchus had made, but there were many of us left, so we started with all our ponies to get away from the soldiers. We traveled in a very long line down the Rosebud, and we camped where the river flows through behind high bluffs. Then we moved on downstream to where we had the big sun dance before the rubbing out of long hair. Oh yeah, also there was a sun dance that I forgot to mention in the Cliff Notes version, which we'll talk about. Another big cyclical circular dance, similar to the ghost dance coming up, but different. Ghost dance, a lot of it I think some of it came from like the ideas and the principles of the sun dance, but I'll show you some pictures if I haven't already. Super interesting. The soldiers had come through that way, and the holy place was all cut up with shod hoofs and made dirty with horse droppings. Then we moved on downstream to a sacred place where there is a big rock bluff right beside the water. And high up on this bluff, pictures used to appear, foretelling something important that was going to happen soon. There was a picture on it then of many soldiers hanging head downward, and people said it was there before the rubbing out of long hair. I don't know, but it was there then, and it didn't seem that anybody could get up that high to make a picture. But I would assume someone is making the pictures. We moved over to the Tongue River and camped a little while. When we were there, scouts came in and said that a big fireboat, which would be like a steamboat, fireboat had come up the Yellowstone with a load of corn for the soldiers' horses, and that it was piled on the other side of the river. Some of our young men went to sea, and one of them, Yellow Shirt, got killed by the fireboat's soldiers over there. Oh, but the others brought corn home, and they gave us some, and we parched it, and it was good. About this time, in the moon of the black cherries, August, the scattering of the people began, because by now we learned that the soldiers were coming again. Dull Knife and the Shaylas went over to Willow Creek in the Bighorn Mountains. Many of the Lakotas stole away in small parties and started for the agencies, so like going to live reservation, but agencies like the white areas. The rest of us, still a great many, started east, and the soldiers of the Three Stars followed us. Our people set fire to the grass behind us as we went, and the smoke back there was as wide as the day, and the light of the fire was as wide as the night. This was to make the soldiers' horses starve. It's really smart. Then it began to rain, and it kept on raining for days while we traveled east. Our ponies had to work hard in the deep mud, and it must have been bad for the soldiers' horses back there with nothing to eat. Sitting Bull and Gall, with some people, left us and started for grandmother's land, Canada. And other people were going away from us all the time. But Crazy Horse would not leave the country that was ours. Think about why it might be called Canada. I don't know if this is a question coming up or not, but who was in charge of Canada? Like in charge of the Canadians? Was it their own prime minister, or was another country historically in charge of Canada? Yes. And who was the lady in charge of that other country? Oh, so she was like a grandma. Cool. In the moon of the Black Calf, the next month, September, we were camping near the head of the Grand River when American Horse, with many teepees, had a fight with the soldiers of the Three Stars by the Slim Buttes on Rabbit Creek. They fought hard there in the rain, and the soldiers killed American Horse and chased the women and the children out of their homes and took all the papa, which is dried meat, that they had made to feed themselves that winter. Ooh, that's a lot. Then Crazy Horse went over there with a band of our warriors and chased the soldiers through the rain. They fled southward toward the Black Hills, and many of their horses died in the deep mud. He followed them a long way and made them fight as they fled. Whenever we went, the soldiers came to kill us, and it was all our own country. It was ours already when the Wasichus made the treaty with Red Cloud that said it would be ours as long as grass would grow and water flow. That was only 8 winters before, and they were chasing us now because we remembered and they forgot. After that, we started west again, and we were not happy anymore because so many of our people had untied their horses' tails and gone. Oh, that says it means to leave the war path. It's customary for men going to war to tie up their horses' tails. I don't know anything about that. Okay. We went back deep into our country, and most of the land was black from the fire, and the bison had gone away. Remember what the dream said about bison, that they were like the most important thing. We camped on the Tongue River where there was some cottonwood for the ponies, and a hard winter came on early. It snowed much. Game was hard to find, and it was a hungry time for us. Ponies died, and we ate them. They died because the snow froze hard, and they couldn't find the grass that was left in the valleys, and there was not enough cottonwood to feed them all. There had been thousands of us together that summer, but there were not 2,000 now. News came to us there, in the moon of the falling leaves, November, that the Black Hills had been sold to the Wasichus, and also all the country west of the hills, the country that we were in then. I learned when I was older that our people didn't want to do this. The Wasichus went to some of the chiefs alone and got them to put their marks on the treaty. Maybe some of them did this when they were crazy from drinking the Minnewacan, holy water, or whiskey. Maybe some of them were drunk when they said, sure, you can have our land. The Wasatchews gave them, they gave them the whiskey. Yeah, I've heard this, I don't know, but only crazy or very, very foolish men would sell their Mother Earth. Sometimes I think it might have been better if we had stayed together and made them kill us all. That would have been something. Dull Knife was camping with his band of Shaylas on the Willow Creek in the edge of the Bighorn Mountains, and one morning, very early, near the end of the moon of the falling leaves, the soldiers came there to kill them. The people were all sleeping. The snow was deep and it was very cold, and when the soldiers began shooting into the teepees, the people ran out into the snow, and most of them were naked from their sleeping robes. Men fought in the snow and cold with nothing on them but their cartridge belts, and it was a hard fight because the warriors thought of the women and children freezing. They couldn't whip the soldiers, but those who were not killed and did not die from the cold got away and came to our camp on the tongue. I can remember when Dull Knife came with what was left of his starving and freezing people. They had almost nothing, and some of them had died on the way. Many little babies died. We could give them clothing, but of food we could not give them much, for we were eating ponies ourselves when they died. And after a while they left us, and they started for the soldiers' town on the White River to surrender to the Wasatchews. And so we were all alone there in that country that was ours and had been stolen from us. So definitely walking the Black Road right now. Can you imagine fighting? I mean, just being outside in the middle of the winter here. Nope, I am not strong enough to do that. But to fight someone physically, also no for me. But to do that, and then also to do it naked while you're thinking about the vulnerable people in your group that are being killed as you're out there killing. No wonder. Yeah, no, I would give up too. After that, the people noticed that Crazy Horse was queerer than ever. He hardly ever stayed in the camp. People would find him out alone in the cold, and they would ask him to come home with them. He would not come, but sometimes he would tell the people what to do. People wondered if he ate anything at all. Once, my father found him out alone like that, and he said to my father, "Uncle, you have noticed me the way I act, but do not worry. There are caves and holes for me to live in, and out here the spirits may help me. I'm making plans for the good of my people." He was always a queer man, but that winter he was queerer than ever. Maybe he had seen that he would soon be dead and was thinking how to help us when he would not be with us anymore. It was a very bad winter for us, and we were all sad. Then another trouble came. We had sent out scouts to learn where the soldiers were, and they were camping at the mouth of the Tongue River. Early in the moon of the frost in the teepee, January, some of our scouts came in and said that the soldiers were coming up the Tongue to fight us, and they had 2 wagon guns or cannons with them. There was no better place to go, so we got ready to fight them. And I was afraid, because my father told me that we had not much ammunition left. We moved the village a little way off upstream, and our warriors were ready on a high bluff when the walking soldiers and their wagons came in the morning. The soldiers built fires and ate their breakfast there in the valley, while our people watched them and were hungry. And then they began shooting with the wagon guns that shot twice because the iron balls went off after they fell. Some of them did not go off, and we boys ran after one of those, and we got it. Then the walking soldiers started up the bluff, and it began to snow hard, and they fought in the blizzard. We couldn't stop the soldiers coming up because we had not much ammunition. The soldiers had everything, but our men used spears and guns for clubs when the soldiers got there, and they fought hand to hand a while, holding the soldiers back until the women could break camp and get away with the children and ponies. We fled in the blizzard southward up the Tongue and over to the Little Powder River. The soldiers followed us a while, and there was fighting in our rear. We got away, but we lost many things we needed. And when we camped in the Little Powder, we were almost as poor as Dull Knife's people were the day they came to us. It was so cold that the sun made himself fires. It was so cold that the sun made himself some fires. That's a hyperbole. And also weird personification. I don't know what that is. And we were eating our starving ponies. Late in the moon of the dark red calf, February, or early in the moon of the snowblind, March. Sorry. Spotted Tail the Brule with some others came to us. His sister was Crazy Horse's mother. He was a great chief and a great warrior, and he bent over to the Wasatchews. To bend over means to, like, give yourself to someone. When I saw him, I saw him and I didn't like him. He was fat with Wasatchu food, and we were lean with famine. My father told me that he came to make his nephew surrender to the soldiers because our own people had turned against us. And in the spring, when the grass was high enough for the horses, many soldiers would come and fight us, and many Shoshones and Crows and even Lakota and our old friends the Shailas would come against us with the Wasatchews. I could not understand this, and I thought much about it. How could men get fat by being bad and starve by being good? Yeah, exactly, Black Elk, I agree. I thought and thought about my vision, and it made me very sad, for I wondered if maybe it was only a queer dream after all. Isn't that true? Like when life gets hard, you really start to doubt yourself and your purpose and your dreams and all your actions and all your choices. So Black Elk is doing that because life's getting real hard. And also, when you're younger and you're innocent, which Black Elk is like coming out of now, his childhood, don't you just believe that good things happen to good things and bad things happen to bad people? If you're a good boy and a good girl, like you'll be safe. Yeah, it's not true, is it? Sometimes the bad people get rich and get easy lives. It's crap. And then I heard that we would all go into the soldiers' town when the grass should appear, and that Crazy Horse had untied his pony's tail and would not fight again. It's really bad now. And the moon of the grass appearing, April, our little band started for the soldiers' town ahead of the others, and it was early in the moon when the ponies shed, May, that Crazy Horse came in with the rest of our people and the ponies that were only skin and bones. There were soldiers and Lakota policemen in lines all around him when he surrendered there at the soldiers' town. I saw him take off his war bonnet. I was not near enough to hear what he said. He didn't talk loud, and he said only a few words, and then he sat down. I was 14 years old. We had enough to eat now, and we boys could play without being afraid of anything. Soldiers watched us, and sometimes my father and mother talked about our people who had gone to grandmother's land with Sitting Bull and Gall, and they wanted to be there. We were camped near Red Cloud's agency, which was close to the soldiers' town. What happened that summer is not a story. Oh, okay, so chapter 10, we definitely are on the Black Road. There's the beginning of the ascent toward a lot of bad stuff. Good job.